Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to play Sagrada by Floodgate Games. First, give each player a player board and place the round tracker in the centre of the table. Shuffle the private objective cards and deal one to each player. These should be kept face down and secret from other players. Shuffle the tool cards and place 3 in the centre of the playing area. Shuffle the public objective cards and place 3 in the centre of the play area. Deal each player 2 random window pattern cards. The difficulty of those cards is indicated by the number of spots in the bottom right hand corner. The higher the number, the more difficult. Each player then selects one of the 2 window patterns and takes favour tokens equal to the number of difficulty. The other card is discarded. The selected window pattern card is then slotted inside the player board like so. You are now ready to play. The randomly determined first player then draws a number of dice from the bag equal to the player's doubled plus 1. So in a 2-player game, we would draw 5 dice. During each player's turn, they may do one of each of the following 2 actions. The first action is to draft one of these dice and place it onto their player board, respecting any restrictions, which I'll talk about in a second. The other optional action players may wish to take is to use a tool card. Players may use tool cards by spending favour tokens. The first time a tool card is used, the player must pay 1 favour token, and from then on, that tool card would cost 2 favour tokens. Tool cards are useful because they allow players to manipulate dice from the drafting row or drafting pool, but it also may let you manipulate dice that have already been placed on your player board. For example, this card here, the grinding stone, allows players to flip the result of the dice to the opposite side after drafting. So for example, if I paid 1 favour token to use that tool, I could flip this red to a 6, which may prove useful on my player board. So let's talk about how these player boards work. As you can see, some of these squares have certain colours and numbers. These are restrictions. So what that means is that this square must be filled in with a red dice, and this one here must be filled in with a dice showing the result of a 5. The first round, players must place their die they've drafted onto the outside edge of the player board. So for example, this player might choose to place this 6 here. From then on, there are another amount of restrictions. So any future dice has to be connected to another dice in either an orthogonal or diagonal method. So for example, in the next round, I could place a green 2 here, because I'm respecting that restriction. Now there are other restrictions where, for example, I couldn't place another red orthogonal to a red, and I also cannot place another equal number orthogonal to that same number. So I couldn't place a red dice here, here, or here. And I also couldn't place another 6 here, here, or here. When drafting and placing dice onto their player board, players should consider the public objectives. Now these public objectives award points depending on how well players performed of that relative objective. For example, this one here, colour diagonals, would award 1 point for each diagonal dice of the same colour. So in this example, that would score 1, 2, 3, 4 points for blue and 1, 2, 3 points for yellow, making 7 points at the end of the game. This one here awards 2 points for each set of light shades, which is 1 or 2 values on dice. And this one here offers 6 points per row with no repeated colours. Players should also carefully consider their private objective cards. Now these award points equal to the number of pips of that colour. So for example, if I place this 4 onto my player board, at the end of the game, when scores are calculated, I would score points equal to the number of yellow pips I have. So far, I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points towards my private objective points. Turn order is also done quite unconventionally in Sagrada because it happens in a snaking manner. For example, player 1 would draft their dice, then player 2 would draft their dice, then player 3 would draft theirs, but then it goes in reverse order. So player 3 would then have their turn, then player 2, and then player 1. The remaining dice that hasn't been drafted gets placed onto the round tracker. This just helps keep track of the round, and it also may be used for certain tools. After 10 rounds have been completed, players calculate their scores by working out points scored from the public objectives and private objectives. Players also score 1 point for each unused favour token and lose 1 point for each open window space. The player with the most amount of points is the winner. The other side of the player board helps keep track of scores. And that's how you play Sagrada.